So, Kenneth Branagh has released yet another Hercule Poirot movie, this time based on the novel Halloween Party, and we're going to talk about it. Hey, it's Em. So, I recently went to see A Haunting in Venice, which is the third in the Hercule Poirot film series as idealized, I guess, by Kenneth Branagh, who plays the titular detective and usually directs these two, I think. Maybe even wrote a couple of them. In any case, the first was Murder on the Orient Express. Makes sense. It's probably the most famous Hercule Poirot story. It was the first one I read as a kid. I started reading Hercule Poirot in my early teens. And I started with Murder on the Orient Express because I had heard of it and I loved detective novels, and I continue to love Hercule Poirot. I have never read any Miss Marple novels. Maybe I should, but definitely a fan of The Little Belgian. Then he did Death on the Nile, which was one of my two favorite Hercule Poirot novels growing up. Death on the Nile and Murder in Mesopotamia were my favorites, probably because I had an interest in ancient history and archaeology, and those settings were interesting to me. And now he's made not Halloween Party. He has changed the title, which makes sense. Except you could have called this movie Halloween Party and it still would have been true, just not as true to the book. So he called it A Haunting in Venice. Maybe he was just trying to keep those locations kind of in the titles. On the Orient Express, on the Nile, in Venice. Maybe he's just, parallelism for the win. In any case, the novel is incredibly different from the film. Whereas Murder on the Orient Express, the film version, was pretty close to the book, and Death on the Nile also, it's like he started out hewing relatively close. He tinkered more with Death on the Nile, making some changes to that story and those characters. Although, again, the ultimate end of the story was pretty much as written by Christie. And in this one, we just went a completely different direction with it. That said, I will say for the record, I love Hercule Poirot novels, and I'm enjoying these movies for what they are, not as faithful adaptations of the stories, but as, some new, different version of the stories and of this character that I love. I'm enjoying Kenneth Branagh as Hercule Poirot. The mustache is a lot. It's kind of got that two-level thing going, but okay, I'll take it. I always kind of was more like thinking, the big... Anyway, that's beside the point. I do enjoy these movies, even though they are markedly different from the source material, especially this last one, whereas Halloween Party takes place in England at a Halloween party in a small English town/village. This one is obviously in Venice in a palazzo it's supposedly haunted, and they bring in a medium because the woman who owns the palazzo, Rowena Drake, who is the main character, but the hostess of the Halloween party in the novel as well. Her daughter died at this palazzo so many years before, or whatever, 4 maybe, it doesn't matter, and Rowena kind of wants to contact the spirit of her daughter, but also there's supposedly a bunch of spirits in this palazzo because it used to be an orphanage where a bunch of children died during the plague. So in any case, there's ostensibly a supernatural bent to this that I don't recall being in this. Now, it's been a while since I've read Halloween Party. But, and I do remember the bobbing for apples thing was key. apples were a thing. But yeah, in any case, even if I could remember this novel fully, I do remember that it's very different from whatever was going on in Haunting in Venice. That said, A Haunting in Venice is a fun movie. I enjoyed it, again, for what it was and what it is. I will say, so in the novel and in the film both, Hercule Poirot has an authoress friend who one assumes is something of a self-insert for Agatha Christie when she wrote Ariadne Oliver, if I remember right. And in the film, Ariadne is played by Tina Fey. And I love, love, love Tina Fey as an actress. I identify with, relate to her humor and her style quite a bit. And so I'm always happy to see Tina Fey doing stuff, anything. But it was a little bit distracting to have her in this film. And I don't know why, except that I don't know that it was Fey. It might have just been the way the character of Ariadne was written. She's just very Liz Lemony, or no, you know what? More like Cinda from Only Murders in the Building. Very Cinda. Let's yeah. Definitely, authoress, podcaster, I guess, is kind of in any case, I did find it a little bit distracting in a way that in most of the other, in any of the other of these Hercule Poirot film adaptations, famous faces have not generally distracted me, except, when you get that moment where you're like, who is that? That person looks familiar. I know for Death on the Nile, there was a big to-do about the fact that Armie Hammer was there at all, and I do think they had intentionally kind of trimmed his scenes to only those that were absolutely necessary for story and plot moments. But yeah, I don't know. In any case, that aside, I mean, Tina Fey did a fine job with, the character. She's a good actress, all of that. It was just a little bit, she just felt her attitude overall, I want to say, and again, this might have been the script, her attitude, her behaviors, or it could have been the directing, just felt slightly out of step with everything else going on around them. So that was a little weird. But other than that, it's got a little bit of like the spooky stuff. It was, for me, relatively predictable, the path that it was going on, and not just because I had read the book, because again, I'm pretty sure that the solution in this, because it's just such a completely different story, pretty sure the solution in the film is not the same as the one in the book. I don't really remember, but I do know, like, people who died in the book don't die in the movie. There's a character named Leopold, and in the book he dies. In the movie he does not. Spoiler, I guess, for those of you who read the book and are like now going, wait, I thought Leopold was going to die. Sorry about that. But the Hercule is in Venice. He has retired. He has a bodyguard now who keeps people away from him, people who are trying to get him to solve mysteries on their behalves, I almost called her Cinda. Ariadne Oliver shows up to entice Hercule to a Halloween party at opera singer Rowena Drake's palazzo, which is slowly falling apart because Rowena Drake is out of money. She had quit singing after her daughter committed suicide? Well, so I think it was ruled a suicide. She had fallen off the balcony into the canal. And there's like this, but she had the mark that the children leave when they murder, like the spirits of the children, I guess, murder people and they leave kind of a claw mark, like they're velociraptors or something. I don't know. But they're like, oh, but her back had the mark on it, so we actually think the ghosts killed her or something like that. Anyway, Rowena Drake is throwing a Halloween party for the children of Venice, I guess. And then after the party is over, Michelle Yeoh shows up as the medium that has been hired to hold a seance. And Hercule, Ariadne's basically trying to get Hercule to maybe get back into the game of solving mysteries, right? Or she's maybe also trying to get Hercule Poirot to admit that some things are supernatural, and he's, obviously very logical, he's little gray matter, and he's, reluctant to believe that. And so it goes. There are some things, so it leaves the supernatural elements somewhat ambiguous. It gives us an explanation for it, but at the same time, you may be supposed to walk away going, or did he actually, did these things actually happen? Anyway, that part is fine. I thought some of the supernatural moments were a little hokey. There were a couple that, worked, made sense, but there were a couple that were kind of like, I don't know. I just thought they were kind of dumb, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it more than Death on the Nile, which is sad since I do love the story of Death on the Nile. I found that movie okay, but kind of weird and choppy in a way. This one, too, like, I feel like there was maybe more stuff and they had to, like, kind of stuff it down into shorter runtime because I feel like there was maybe more information about some of the characters that we never actually got. But I enjoyed it probably about as much as I enjoyed Murder on the Orient Express, which I did actually really enjoy overall. And, I do hope that we continue to get these films, even if Branagh and his team continue to kind of wackadoodle it out into, like, strange new worlds, as it were. Because I now I'm thinking, well, what would be next? Maybe Evil Under the Sun. That would be, I could see that one being a good location film if we're focusing on taking Poirot different places. Obviously, I love Murder in Mesopotamia, so I would absolutely love to see that on the screen. And yeah, other than that, so many of them are very, like, set in England. The Mysterious Affair at Styles, which is, very much a big estate kind of Clue-esque thing. But, I do think, Cat Among the Pigeons. That's in a girls' school, if I remember right. So I don't know, maybe you would have to make it someplace else. I don't know. Again, that's assuming we are focusing on location, like interesting locations as a big part of the series. But yeah. Anyway, if you've seen A Haunting in Venice, let me know what you thought. If you've watched these Hercule Poirot movies, let me know what you've thought of them. If you've read the books, are you a fan of Hercule Poirot? Then let me know that too. Should I read the Miss Marple books? I never have. I just never have. But I reread Hercule Poirot, periodically. This is always a good time of year for it, actually. I do find, like, fall to be a good time for some of these little cozy mystery type books. Maybe I'll reread Halloween Party to remind myself exactly how this... And I know there's something about a vase full of flowers and water, like a broken vase, and that does not happen in the movie. But I remember the broken vase being a big part of the mystery. Is that a weird thing to remember? I don't know. It's been several years since I've read it. So, yeah. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on Haunting in Venice and whether you think they should stick more closely to the stories, or just maybe even make up their own stories from scratch at this point, rather than like borrowing characters and various like things from like I don't know. It's kind of a, I don't know. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I'm not looking for like perfect, a perfect adaptation, a 1-to-1. But I guess, I mean, I'm not a purist, I guess. I'm open to interpretations. And, this is one, and I think it worked out okay. But let me know what you think. And until next time, take care.